Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join us as we explore the rugged landscapes, uncover hidden historical gems, and dive deep into the rich legends and culture of this iconic region. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Please leave a like or comment. This is very helpful. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Picture this. October 1846, somewhere in the brutal wilderness of what would become New Mexico. Colonel Stephen Watts Kearny sits on his horse watching his men struggle to haul two massive howitzer cannons up a rocky mountain pass. Mules are collapsing from exhaustion, and somewhere in the distance Apache warriors are watching, deciding whether these bedraggled Americans are worth killing. This is the story of one of the most disastrous and consequential military expeditions in American history. Welcome to the Army on the Gila Trail. To understand how American soldiers ended up dying of thirst while dragging cannons through Apache territory, we need to rewind to 1845, when America was playing high-stakes poker with Mexico, and the chips were entire states. Senator Thomas Hart Benton of Missouri, the most influential expansionist in Congress, believed America's destiny was stretching from sea to shining sea. His son-in-law was Lieutenant John Charles Fremont, a topographical engineer with Napoleon's ego. Then there was Colonel Stephen Watts Kearny, a career military man harboring dreams of glory. The prize? New Mexico and California, technically Mexican but barely defended. Benton had sent Fremont on two supposedly scientific expeditions that were really intelligence missions. The first, in 1843, officially mapped the Oregon Trail. Unofficially, Fremont took 39 heavily armed frontiersmen, including legendary mountain man Kit Carson, plus a mounted cannon obtained through deception. Fremont discovered something crucial. Mexican military strength in California was practically non-existent. His second expedition in 1845 was even more audacious. While officially exploring the Continental Divide, Fremont's real mission was instigating American settler rebellion in California. He brought 62 heavily armed frontiersmen and enough ammunition to outfit a small army. His mission was breathtakingly ambitious. First, march down the Santa Fe Trail and conquer New Mexico. Then, continue via the mysterious Gila Trail to California. Kearny assembled an impressive force: 1,600 mounted dragoons, 500 Mormon soldiers, and artillery with 21 mounted howitzers. They had the heaviest prairie schooners available and the strongest mules in Missouri. On July 4, 1846, Kearny led this force onto the Santa Fe Trail, Independence Day for territorial independence. Meanwhile, Fremont had succeeded in California. The Bear Flag Rebellion was underway, and California was falling into American hands exactly as planned. Kearny's conquest of New Mexico was almost comically easy. When the Army reached Santa Fe on August 18, 1846, the city surrendered without firing a shot. After formal ceremonies and banquets, Kearny appointed Charles Bent as civilian governor. Everything went so smoothly that Kearny decided he didn't need his entire army for California. He selected 5 companies of his best dragoons and kept his precious artillery. There was one problem. Nobody in the U.S. military department had real knowledge of southwestern geography. They'd chosen Tom Fitzpatrick as guide, excellent for Oregon routes, but who'd never been on the Gila Trail. On September 26, 1846, Kearny's reduced force left Santa Fe in high spirits. Reality hit immediately. After a hard march through barren terrain, their Missouri mules showed strain. Then came the first major deception. Mexican traders convinced Kearny that horses couldn't survive desert heat. He had to switch to mules. They sold him mules that were weak and nearly exhausted, taking advantage of American ignorance. The wagon situation was worse. Wheels sank in sand, there was insufficient forage, and those impressive Missouri mules were failing. The Army made only 12 miles per day. On October 6, 1846, everything changed. Racing toward them from California came Kit Carson himself, carrying dispatches with unwelcome news. California had already been conquered by Stockton and Fremont. Imagine Kearny's reaction. He was struggling through the desert with cannons and wagons, men and mules dying, all for conquering California, and somebody had already done it. The disappointment among troops was crushing. But Kearny's orders specifically directed him to command Upper California. He was too late to conquer it from Mexicans, but still needed to take command from Fremont, quickly. Carson was under Navy orders to deliver dispatches personally to Washington. When Kearny demanded Carson guide them instead, Carson refused. Kearny threatened arrest and court-martial. Finally, Lucien Maxwell convinced Carson that refusing a superior officer in wartime was treason. Carson agreed to guide the Army but warned that wheeled vehicles were impossible on the Gila Trail. It would take 4 months with current equipment. Kearny made contradictory decisions. He accepted Carson's intelligence that hostilities had ceased but rejected advice about Wagon Impossibility. He sent 3 dragoon companies back to Santa Fe, but insisted on keeping heavy wagons and howitzers, determined to prove Carson wrong. For days it looked like Kearny might be right. They managed good progress along the Chihuahua Trade Road. But as mountains constrained the river, everything changed. By October 9th, they made only 7 miles per day. Moving wagons required extreme effort. 5 team mules completely failed. Carson may have deliberately chosen the most difficult route to convince Kearny before it was too late. His strategy worked. On October 10th, transport mules gave out completely. Faced with complete failure, Carson made his promise. Abandon wagons, load bare necessities on pack mules, and he could reach California in 50 days. Kearny agreed but insisted on keeping 2 howitzers as symbols of authority. It took 4 days to procure pack saddles and train dragoons in packing skills. During reorganization, Kearny made another controversial decision. When Mexican traders arrived with mules, he accused them of trading with Apaches without licenses and confiscated their animals. This decision would prove nearly disastrous. The reorganized expedition renewed progress, but those precious howitzers required a dozen mules plus men to haul uphill over boulders. By October 18th, they reached Apache Council Rock. For 2 days they'd seen deserted Apache camps. Carson's analysis: Apaches had been watching since they left the Rio Grande. Chief Mangas Coloradas of the Apaches was gathering warriors who could easily annihilate Kearny's 2 inexperienced dragoon companies. The narrow canyons were ideal for Apache warfare. Mangas Coloradas appeared with a single warrior, indicating many more were hidden nearby. That he showed no surprise at Carson's presence proved surveillance. Carson introduced Kearny as son of the Great White Father, initiating negotiation that would determine whether the expedition continued or ended in massacre. Kearny presented the mission as war against Mexican enemies, appealing to Apache sentiment. But Mangas Coloradas was unimpressed by the bedraggled army. When he offered Apache warriors to join American forces, Kearny's real concern became clear. He wanted mules, not military assistance. The chief avoided committing to livestock, promising to gather people and assess available animals. They arranged to meet 15 miles further, and Kearny distributed presents. The second meeting on October 19th revealed full complexity of Apache-American relations. Indians arrived armed with Mexican guns, bows, arrows, and lances. Women wore Spanish finery from southern raids. Notably, they brought no mules. Carson assessed the situation. Apaches knew about Kearny's confiscation of Mexican animals and were taking no risks. They had 2 choices: accept presents and allow passage, or defend themselves. Kearny delivered a speech promising protection for peaceful behavior, but warning of punishment for molesting whites. Carson, showing diplomatic wisdom, modified the translation. He omitted punishment threats and emphasized friendship, a culturally sensitive adaptation that probably prevented bloodshed. After distributing gifts, Americans secured only 2 poor-quality mules at excessive cost, but they achieved something more valuable: safe passage through Apache territory. Carson led what he privately considered the unimpressive army of the West toward the Gila River, following ancient Indian trails toward a destiny that would reshape the American continent. The army on the Gila Trail represents everything complicated about American expansion: the gap between political ambition and military reality, dependence on indigenous knowledge, and the human cost of conquering a continent. Kearny's expedition eventually reached California, but not as conquering heroes. They arrived as a battered force that learned desert warfare required different rules, different equipment, and different relationships with people who already called this harsh land home. The story reveals the messy truth behind manifest destiny. It wasn't inevitable, wasn't easy, and required cooperation, willing or unwilling, of people like Kit Carson and Mangas Coloradas, whose complex loyalties shaped outcomes as much as any political decision in Washington. The Army of the West succeeded not through superior firepower or brilliant strategy, but by learning to abandon preconceptions and adapt to a landscape utterly unforgiving to those who refuse to respect its terms. Join my Patreon community and discover my art print products on my website in the links provided in my description and link above. Also, if you would like a particular image from my videos, give the timestamp for image, and I will upload it to my website and Patreon. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest story. Check out my large catalog of Southwest videos and playlists on historical tales, legends, lost gold stories, and adult bedtime stories. If you like a certain image from my videos, tell me in comments and give timestamp. Happy trails. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.